My name's Mike Astley-Brown and I've been playing guitar for 28 years. Like a lot of kids in the 90s, I watched a lot of Top of the Pops, and that was when I was first exposed to sort of the sight of an electric guitar. It's weird, I can't picture exactly what band or artist I might have seen. I vividly remember seeing Placebo play Nancy Boy though, and the sort of the spikiness and the kind of the nasty harmonics and the distortion of that track like really resonated with me in a way that I don't think I understood. So when I was 7 years old, my mum came to me and said, I want you to learn an instrument, but you can pick what instrument that is. I went for guitar thinking it would be, the thing I'd seen on TV, the loud, exciting instrument behind pop and rock music. And it was obviously a nylon string classical guitar. The first time I picked it up, there's a photo of me holding it, and I'm holding it the wrong way round and playing it left-handed. I am not left-handed. I never was. So that always cracks me up. But that was my first experience actually holding a guitar. I think that idea that I had the sort of power over the notes that were coming out of this thing was really exciting. And I think as it was something that was kind of, because it was something that was mine, like my mum played piano, but the guitar was my instrument, even though it was a classical guitar. And I think I didn't feel as much from it as I would have liked at first because it wasn't a creative thing for me. It was kind of like another subject I was studying almost. It didn't really become like a creative or emotional thing until later. And I don't think I realized how important it would be until I was older. Because I remember crying my eyes out whenever I had to practice classical guitar. I loved that I did it now and I really enjoyed it as I got older. But when I was younger, it was just, it was not what I wanted to do. The guitar gives me a way of figuring out what I'm feeling. It's like a form of therapy in a sense. Like there's emotions that I'll be feeling and I don't know what they are until I pick up this instrument and I like maybe just lay down a loop of a few chords and I just play some notes over it. And that kind of helps to channel what I'm going through at that point. And that's been a real constant in my life. And I think that's why I probably struggled so much when I stopped playing for several years, because I didn't have that means of figuring out my emotions. Having the guitar as an outlet was like absolutely vital for me as a teenager. And now as an adult, it keeps me balanced, and it's an utter like compulsion. Like I have to play, I have to write music, I have to be able to express myself in that way. It's different to saying it with words. My life has been shaped around guitar. It's absolutely crazy. It still blows my mind when people ask me my profession. I'm like, I'm a guitar journalist. It seems utterly preposterous, and I am so privileged to be able to do that. And it all came from picking up that classical guitar when I was 7 and then picking up electric guitar when I was 13 and getting into pop punk stuff like The Offspring and Blink-182 and Green Day and things. It's given me that, but it's also given me a kind of focus in my life. Like I have such a drive as a journalist in guitar, and I have such a drive as a musician making music. Like that is my ultimate compulsion now. Like it used to be obviously like learning songs, honing chops when I was a teenager, but now it was just writing music. I just want to spend all my time writing and recording music for my own project Maebe. Like that has been the most overwhelmingly fulfilling part of my life. I never had the confidence to kind of do it, and now guitar has given me that confidence. I even feel more comfortable with this right here. Like it is a safety blanket. It makes me feel safe. I am an anxious person and certainly was more anxious back in the day. I've found ways of coping with it. The guitar it was a vehicle for me actually meeting people in the first place. I think I made a lot of my friends at school, at university, and now as an adult and having a band that plays around the UK, you form these new friendships. And I was terrified of speaking to people, and that made it really hard for me to make my own music and put it out there. It's only in the last 5 years that I've actually felt able to do that in my 30s. It helps me to decompress as well. If I've had a stressful day, if you're dealing with crazy news or trolls or any of the stresses that come with this job, if you just play what you're feeling, the music you want to make, that makes you feel more like yourself, and it gets you out of your head. And I think that's a really important part of guitar playing for me. Yeah, this is a heavy one. When my marriage was kind of dissolving, I didn't know how to deal with that necessarily, and that's what kind of pushed me to really lean into the guitar again. Up until that kind of point, I'd been mostly playing in wedding bands, doing the covers kind of circuit, but I hadn't made original music to a sort of degree where I was concentrating on it. I would do like the odd song once a year or so, but I wanted to finally fulfill that dream of making an album. And I didn't know why I suddenly had that dream. I knew things weren't great at home, but I really felt this drive to have a reason to sort of reason to exist at that point. I felt so small and so insignificant. It was not a good place at home, that I needed my guitar. I needed it to get me through. I felt like my head was underwater all the time. I didn't feel especially like I wanted to live, if I'm honest. So making that music and starting this project that became Maebe, and writing some really sad songs, and some rocking ones too, helped me through that. And I remember at that stage I was reviewing a lot of guitars. It was maybe a couple of days after like we'd had the chat that the marriage was kind of done, and I was reviewing an Ibanez AZ series, and there was a pickup position on there that just brought out this kind of really overwhelming, just few chords and little licks, just around E and A, and I just started crying. I was writing and I was crying. I've never had that before in my life, and it was so overwhelming. I've literally got like a phone memo of that. I was like, I need to capture this because this is cool. I like this idea, but fuck me, I'm sad. But you can literally hear me crying, like with the kind of notes underneath. And eventually I finished that song and called it Stay Together for the Cats. I got the cat out of the marriage. But it took me years to sort of revisit that idea because I knew it would be so difficult. So when I actually got round to recording that track, that felt like a proper like, oh my God, I'm over it. I dealt with it. I wanted to stop playing guitar since the very day I started playing guitar. I think I hit various roadblocks in terms of learning, but I was never deterred. But the things that would annoy me was when I'd like snap a string and I'd be like, man, now I've got to spend pocket money on strings instead of buying a new CD and discovering new music in the time before streaming, etc. So that would really frustrate me. But I think the time I wanted to give it up most was when I was learning to be a journalist. And I got really into like music journalism. That became my kind of like focus. And I enjoyed writing about that a lot. And I just kind of forgot about guitar. I was studying for a degree. I was doing journalism in the evenings. I didn't really have any free time to actually play. I felt like there wasn't time in my life for it. And I kind of regret that now because I feel like in some ways I feel like I'd be a better player because of that, if I'd actually kept going. But I think this constant like weighing up of the writing and the journalism and the actual playing guitar has always been a struggle. I think sometimes when you've had a really bad day at work, sometimes you can feel like the last thing you want to do is now play guitar, because whatever it is that's happened at work will have had guitars involved in some way just by the nature of the job. So that has been a challenge. And then sometimes you do feel like giving it up. But I think having my own sort of way to channel that with my own music has really helped me to say never going to give you up. It's the only way I can think of phrasing that, obviously. But it's the only way I've found to sort of keep that enthusiasm for the guitar going, not following trends, not learning songs for other things. It's just like, for me, it's just the thrill of discovering new sounds, like those two notes that go together and just make you feel something. That's still so exciting to me. Guitar is my identity. I've always been that guy. And it gave me a path to being a creative person when I didn't grow up in a household that especially valued creativity. It was more regimented. My dad came from like a military background, so that's kind of that informed the way we lived. And guitar introduced me to a whole other side of myself that I didn't think existed. And I really didn't believe it existed until like the last few years. Like, I can make stuff inspired by my emotions and share those with other people, and the guitar is the conduit to that. Like, it is the thing that makes that happen. I can't just sing or whistle a melody and I'm like, oh, that makes me feel something. It always has to come through this instrument. And I think part of it is just the way it works. It's the fingers on the wires. It's the different ways of expressing the notes, whether it's bends and slides and vibrato. It's so deeply personal. It's like, it's right here. It's digging into my ribs. You know it's there. You feel it's there. And it's been my best friend. Makes me sound really lonely, but I've had plenty of best friends. Thanks very much. But the guitar is like the one that lives with you. It's just an omnipresent force, and it's everything. Like, I don't want to imagine a world where the guitar doesn't exist for me or for anyone else, because I'm deeply passionate about furthering the guitar as a force for good. Why guitar is the question, isn't it, really? It's the most expressive instrument. There's so many different ways to play a note. So for me, like, guitar is the ultimate instrument. Like, there it is. It's been perfected. It doesn't get better. And you can alter the ergonomics, but it is the ultimate instrument. But then, why guitar in terms of why even play it, and why play music, and why is this the vessel to do so? God, it sounds pretentious to call it a calling, but there is something like driving you. Like, it makes no sense on paper. Like, why do I spend so much time doing something that frustrates me? And that's because the feeling of when you crack something, of when you write something, and when you have that creative like flow state, like, there is nothing like it. You will lose days, weeks, months, and I can attest to that, of like working on music and playing guitar, and nothing else matters at that point. Absolutely nothing else. I honestly don't know if I would exist as a human being if the guitar wasn't in my life. Like, only looking back now, I can see that I was a deeply like anxious, depressed child, teenager, adult. But the guitar, like, understood. It got it. And like I was making, you know, sad loops and miserable, playing miserable solos just for myself. But knowing the guitar was there was like, it gave me purpose, it gave me meaning. And people in the arts often struggle with mental health, and having these vehicles to deal with it, having the guitar to help you cope with the perils of everyday life, and the difficulties and the struggles, is literally life altering and life saving. So that's why guitar, because it saves lives. It's that way to make you feel like you're worth something and life is worth living. So that's why guitar.